Well, my name's Ed Kessler. I'm the founder-director of the Wolf Institute, which is based here in Cambridge, which is dedicated to the study of the encounter between Jews, Christians and Muslims. And we do research, we do teaching, and we do outreach working with communities. I have devoted the last 3 decades of my life to fostering better relations between faith communities, particularly Jews, Christians and Muslims. And I've learnt that it's a two-way encounter. The more I understand somebody else, the more he understands me, the more I learn about myself. And in a way, it's as if you encounter the divine spark in somebody else. And that is needed today more than ever because we live in unsettled times, a time of great opportunity, but also a time of great worry. And I think we are almost commanded, it's almost an imperative, to learn more about the other. Theologically, you could argue that Judaism and Islam are very close, even closer than Christianity and Islam or Christianity and Judaism. And why is that? That's because both have such an emphasis on monotheism, on the one God. Both come out of the same part of the world, the Middle East. Both have practices that are very similar, whether it's about food customs, circumcision of boys. Those sorts of practices bring together Muslims and Jews. And the challenge today, of course, is as much a political challenge in the conflict in the Middle East as anything else. And it does seem to me that in a place like this country, the United Kingdom, where the communities are working together, it provides a real opportunity for the rest of the world. We can provide a model, if you like, of what it is to be a vibrant, dynamic minority community because we're both minorities. And I think that's something we have to work towards. It seems to me that Hussain is a figure that one can identify with because he lived in such a key period in the formation of Islam, the early period of Islam. And what strikes me most of all is the emphasis, if you like, on what we'd call today social justice. This sort of sacrifice, they're trying to better society. And that's what we need. It was somebody who was willing to give up his life to better society. It was somebody for whom the priority of social justice was the #1 priority. And when we look around us and we see millions of refugees in Europe, for example, we see the need to tackle the poverty as a result of the 2008 austerity program and the recession. The model of Hussain, the model of social justice, the model of advocacy is something that we can find in all faiths, but there's a wonderful illustration in Islam. I think we have to study together, and we study more effectively when we study with one another. The Jewish concept, and I think it's perhaps quite similar in Islam, is a term, Kiddush Hashem, the sanctification of God's name. How do we sanctify God's name? We do that in partnership, collective responsibility. And that collective partnership is not just insular. It's not just Muslims working with Muslims or Jews working with Jews. We live in a multicultural, multi-faith, pluralist society. So we have to work together, which means we don't just talk about what we have in common. We also have to manage difference. And that's one of the challenges, it seems to me, in the Muslim-Jewish encounter, is the management of difference as well as what we share. And in Shia Islam, you've had to learn how to manage difference. Difference in terms of relations with other Muslims, difference in terms of relations with other communities. And there is this experience, I learned this from Yusuf al-Khawi, about the encounter with other faith traditions within Shia Islam. That's something that I can learn and I can benefit from engaging with my Muslim brothers and sisters. I think Jews and Muslims have to learn about each other, have to learn to respect one another, have to learn how to manage difference and conflict. We're humans. You know, we get along and we don't get along. That's the normal human condition. And I do think that we're very sensitive. There's a famous Jewish story, the Jew who says, I may be paranoid, but I've got something to be paranoid about. I think we Jews and Muslims sometimes see the outside world as this incredible threat. The biggest threat, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism. And don't get me wrong, there are lots of difficulties and lots of challenges, but sometimes we're a little bit oversensitive. I think we can help each other. So, for example, this week I'm writing a piece in the paper with Prince Hussain of Jordan, the two of us together dealing with anti-Christian hatred. Now, it seems to me when we fight anti-Christian hatred, if a Jew and a Muslim stand up, that's real critical solidarity. If there's Islamophobia, as there is, how much stronger it is if a Christian and Jew stands together to fight Islamophobia. Or if there's anti-Semitism, how much more effective is it if a Muslim and a Christian stand up together? That's critical solidarity. It means coming together, but it also means accepting difference. It means accepting criticism. The criticism, as long as it's given through love. If it's given through hate, we have a problem. I think the example of Hussain, and particularly you mentioned Yazid, standing up to the oppressor, was incredibly brave. I mean, it was so brave that he lost his life. So this is a model for all of us. Now, not all of us are willing to give up our lives. That's the exceptional person, the martyr. I mean, that is the exception. Within our traditions, as Christians, as Jews, as Muslims, we have our martyrs. Not all of us can be martyrs, not all of us want to be martyrs. But what we can learn from our models, like Hussain and the experience with Yazid, is that it is possible to fight oppression. It is possible to develop what I would call a critical solidarity. And how much easier is it to develop that solidarity with partners in faith? I might not have the same faith as you, but I'm a partner on the same journey as you. And I respect your position, I respect your faith, I respect your claim to truth. All I ask is that you respect mine. And that's what we need to work towards. And that's why I think the model of Hussain is a very important model. We can learn from that. All of us, not just Shia. Well, the nearest, I don't know if it's the nearest, one example that comes to mind is the festival of Hanukkah, the story of liberation against the oppressor, the outside oppressor, who was Greek, in this case Antiochus Epiphanes IV. And it was the Maccabean revolt, the liberation against Antiochus, who banned the worship in the temple in Jerusalem. That seems to me an example of fighting the oppressor and giving up one's life to fight the oppressor. But there is a danger. There is a danger. That is the danger of when does one fight the oppressor to give up one's life, and when does one compromise? When does one try and work out a way of living together? What in Spain, of course, in the Iberian was called the convivencia, the coexistence. And it's really working towards that coexistence, it seems to me, that we have to, this institute, my institute, seeks to achieve. The giving up of one's life surely is a last resort. The rabbis have this term called pekuach nefesh. That is, the saving of life outweighs almost every commandment because life is so important. So there are a few models of martyrdom in Judaism, but the rabbis traditionally were a bit careful about extolling the values of martyrdom, because if everybody gives up their lives as a martyr, what's left? One of the areas of Islam I've always been so interested in is that of the Hajj, the journey to Mecca. You see, in Judaism, we have a holy city, Jerusalem, or part of Jerusalem that's particularly holy, where the temple stood. But it's not as central as the Hajj in Islam. And I think I can learn from that. I can learn from that story. As much as in Christianity, the intimacy of the relationship with God through Jesus Christ is something I can learn from. I'm not a Christian. I don't believe Jesus is God. But I can learn from my Christian brothers and sisters about their intimacy, their relationship with the divine as they understand it. And likewise, for the story of the Kabbalah, I can learn from Muslims about the relationship with the divine, even though I'm not a Muslim. I think we live in very interesting times as Muslims and Jews in Britain. This is a very tolerant country, even though there are lots of examples of intolerance, even though there is Islamophobia and there is anti-Semitism. But if you compare Britain to many countries in the world, it is a bastion of tolerance. My parents were born in Vienna and they had to flee the Nazis, and it was this country that took them in as children, and many stories of refugees and others since the Second World War who have come to this country. It seems to me then that Muslims and Jews have a real opportunity to show what it is, perhaps for the first time in the history of the world, where they are both in the same place as minorities. The Muslim-Jewish strand, the centre, the part of the Wolf Institute that focuses on Muslim-Jewish relations, has initiated a number of projects specifically on the understanding between Muslims and Jews, including a letter written by Muslim scholars to the Jewish community called A Call to Dialogue. The study of Muslim-Jewish relations has always been an important part of the work of the Wolf Institute. 6 or 7 years ago, Amine Houthi, who was our director of the Muslim-Jewish Centre, was involved in a project to develop a letter written by Muslim scholars to the Jewish community. It was a kind of version of the common word, you've heard of that, which was letter by Muslims to Christians, and this was a letter by Muslims to Jews called an open letter, a call to dialogue and understanding between Muslims and Jews. It's written in English but translated into many languages and signed by many Muslim scholars, including Shia. The second director of the Muslim Jewish Centre was a young man called Yusuf Meri, who's now in Jordan. And he was with us for 3 or 4 years. And he's just edited a handbook of Muslim Jewish relations, which I've contributed to, the chapter on dialogue with Akbar Ahmed, who lives in Washington, DC. And it seems to me that this sort of work is vital to underpin good relations between Muslims and Jews. I am at heart a teacher. I teach, I write, I lecture, I research. But it seems to me education is vital, because if we're going to live in a society, to sustain our communities, to help them flourish, we have to understand one another. So the work of the Wolf Institute, the work of the Muslim scholars and the Jewish scholars devoted to Muslim-Jewish relations is all about fostering understanding based on good old-fashioned teaching and research. And I'm delighted to continue to learn about my own faith as a Jew when I encounter Muslims, when I encounter Shia, when I encounter Hussain. And that's something I thank God for.